One, three, two, one. You're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Thank you for coming. We're going to have a great show tonight with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for coming.
Greetings and blessings, all you wonderful folks out there, and thank you, Robert. It's always a pleasure to be here on Tuesdays with you, and we always greet you with the love and honor of the infinite creator, and we hope you all are doing well. So with that said, take it away.
Yeah, we were like a few minutes late there. It just kind of went to streaming limbo and just went there, and the little blue line stopped, and we all just kind of waited. I feel like the world has put us on pause. Don't you feel like that? I wish I could put the world on pause and keep going with my life sometimes. So how you been? Okay, go lay down. Go lay down. Dogs are bothering me. Anyway, how you been this week? Since we were on last week, we were getting to episode 65. Pretty soon we'll be up to your age on that.
Oh my goodness.
Not to rub it in, but hey, you're a healthy and young guy compared to 100-year-old, right?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and it beats the alternative. It's way too warm down here in South Georgia. There are things blooming in the 1st of February that it's like a month early. So, wow. History says we're going to have more cold weather. So, there go all the blueberries and everything this year, like it did last year. Yeah. We'll keep our fingers crossed. It hasn't been unbearably hot, but it has been way too warm for this time of year. So I know there are folks on the rest of the planet who are suffering with really cold temperatures and stuff. And I feel for you. We could really use a little bit of that cold down here. So as I sit in front of my little electric heater.
Well, it's kind of strange too, because we had some really cold temperatures, lots of snow here. And in the last week here, it's really, really warmed up. I mean, we hit 40 some odd degrees today. And
that's like a heat wave for you guys.
Oh yeah, everything was melting. We got so much snow on the ground, and so it's really, really warm, and it's supposed to be like that the rest of this week. Like you said, kind of unwarm temperatures like normal. Normally it'd be 30 degrees or 20 degrees or 10. That's the normal. And I'm expecting a big dump load of snow probably, or when the cold weather comes back in and ruin our lovely day. But hey, for the time being, I'm going to be thankful for it, but not enough to make things bloom. But yep. You never know. It could keep staying this warm, and we're just in for an early spring, even though the groundhog said otherwise.
Yeah, well, it depends on where that groundhog is. He wasn't down here in South Georgia coming out of a tortoise hole.
That's true. That is true. Well, tonight we got a special one for you. We're going to be talking about paint. Who would have thought paint, right? I've been doing a lot of studying on a good one. We're going to have a really great presentation here coming up in a week or two. But tonight we're going to talk about paint. We're going to take it easy on the death and destruction as usual, and who did what. We're going to just go with paint. And it is kind of important because all tribes, used a lot of paint. If you ever seen Indians, they'll be on the TV screen and they're always painted up in one color or another. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. First, of course, I got some sharing. We're going to do the sharing screen. And just give me a second here. And oops, I got it. As you, okay, go. Your dog's outside probably running around. My dog's, you're pestering me.
Yeah, I'm looking out the window to see if he's back.
Okay, why isn't this coming up? Anyway, yeah, paint is a good thing, and here we go. And we're gonna check
Before you
this
get
out.
started, I wanted to just mention that not only paint, but it was the colors.
Well, that's exactly, that's why I just said paint. Paint,
Right. But I mean,
colors.
but to the different tribes and to the different nations, certain colors on the medicine wheel and so forth represent different things. So, but just so it wasn't just the paint, which was important, but it was the color. So anyway, I'm sorry. I
Oh
jumped
yeah,
the
yeah.
gun on you.
Yeah, it's definitely is. You know, the different colors. We're going to talk a little bit about the colors themselves and what they mean. You know, maybe a little bit about like, well, like take this guy for instance, and let's look at him. You know, you can see there's stripes on his horse. He's got a couple feathers in his hair. You know, his garment has got colors in it. His shield has got drawings or colors on it. You know, I mean, there's a lot of colors going on here. Here's another guy. It says a modern day native on his war pony. Note the hoof prints. He's got hoof prints on there. For a successful horse raid, meaning, you know, when he painted his horse, is letting the enemy know, hey, I went on a successful horse raid. You know, you better beware because I'm successful. You know, and the people, you know, in his village too. Slashes across the horse's nose. Successful village raid of another tribe or the whites, and a circle around the horse's eye, strengthening eyesight and senses. So, you know, each bit of the paint suggested you know, some feat in battle or a raid or, you know, protection amongst the spirits or of some sort. Sort of meaning behind everything they painted, plus the colors they used. Like this one here, he used a lot of red. Red was one of their favorite colors. And let's see here. We're going to go to this one. The Native American color symbolism. In fact, Native Americans were from different tribes. Each tribe had different colors of symbolism. However, the symbolism of the colors we will see below have widely used most among the Native American tribes. In general, black symbolizes night, cold, death, and disease. Brown is a symbol of animals and death. White is a symbol of peace, paradise, snow, and morning. Blue symbolizes confidence, wisdom, sky, moon, water, lightning, and sorrow. Green symbolizes healing, endurance, the earth, plant life, and rain. Yellow symbolizes sun, dawn, day, and wisdom. Finally, red symbolizes sunset, earth, war, blood, and wounds. So as you see that they had, you know, a lot of them used red. Red was one of the most popular colors. And as we could check out some more of these guys here. Here's one. And this is, you know, another horse. This guy's got stripes on his. He's got a lot of red. Hand prints, hoof prints. That seems to be the same guy. But even on their faces, on some of their things, you know, he's got red, meaning he's going to war.
That's just his face.
No, I mean, this is he's got his top head of his face red, and then, you know, here's his skin color, but I mean, he's using red on there. Here's a guy here. He's got the red, black, white on his face. I mean, besides that, that's kind of scary. If you see this guy running at you, he's got it on his shield and stuff like that. I mean, if he's coming to fight you, he just looks scary.
And he's got a tomahawk and he's given a war whoop.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he looks like a demon jumping out of the dark kind of thing. You got here's another guy. I mean, he's looking pretty badass there, I tell you. I mean, instead of a regular face, I mean, that's enough to scare anybody. Here's one with the black coloring. Now, certain tribes had black, like I think the Sioux used black more than others did. They did the black and white. I mean, here you go. They're fighting each other. They're using their shields. Their shields had paint on them too. They often drew pictures or descriptions of battles or creatures or something like that. They were made out of stretched buffalo raw. The hide. They were so tough that they could take a bullet and ricochet off of it. So you're talking. They're using everything they have to their advantage to protect them while scaring the enemy and showing them that they were successful all at the same time.
And they would put power symbols on the shields and totems.
Yeah.
That would help give them spiritual power.
Yeah.
So
here,
it was,
So here's a good example.
It helped them much, but there were some of the chiefs and some of those that were in some of the raids that bullets flew all around them and they didn't even get a nick.
A lot of it was like you said, if you're the warrior guy and you're holding your shield and you got all this on there, it's a lot of it's psychological.
Well, it's almost religious, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, in your mind, you're using it as a psychological thing, like, hey, this spirit here is going to protect me. I'm going to put him on my shield. I'm going to go into battle, and it makes you braver. Here's another one. He's using this as a protection deal, or maybe a sign. Looks like a little dragon or a beetle of some sort. You can see the tail with the spikes on it, and
it almost looks like a turtle though, but
turtle. Yeah, there you go. Turtle. Yep.
Or some kind of insect maybe, but yeah.
Here's another one. Looks like a buffalo, moon symbol, a bird up here of some sort. I don't know, some other thing, another horse over here spotted, different things. But yeah, this and notice the red, blues colors. Here's one.
And the shields, as I have learned myself, was very personal. So whatever was on that shield for that warrior, that was what the creator or spirit spoke to them to put on it as their own personal totems.
Yes, exactly.
So it wasn't just a design. It represented a story. It represented a totem. It represented maybe a power sign, and it might not relate to somebody else's power sign because it was that particular warrior's vision or whatever that made them paint the thing in the first place.
Yes.
The shields were very special in that respect.
Yep, absolutely. And we're going to go back to shields here in a minute, but you can tell that these are old paintings. This is a crow, but he's painted up a little different than the other ones, but he used all of his body here pretty much painting different colors to symbolize things. Even the feathers they wore, like a red feather was like you got a red feather like you got an eagle feather when you counted coup. For every coup that you counted, you got an eagle feather. And when you got a red feather, that meant that was like you saved somebody in battle or something, like a Purple Heart would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, as you could see, they decorated their horses, and their horses were very important in their battles. This guy's got a huge shield. He's I mean, here's another guy. He's all decked out. He's got stuff hanging off his horse. It's painted up, especially on the face. I mean, he's got feathers on his horse too. I still haven't figured out about the fringe, but it sure make you look bigger. I mean, I know everything has a meaning. I don't know exactly what everything is as of yet, but it does symbolize things. And the other Indians, they know it too. Here's another guy. Notice he painted his face red. He's got markings on his arms, on his shield. He's got, like you said, different symbols up here. Best you can see.
Would you go back to that picture, last one?
Yeah.
And zoom in to his left hip.
Oh, this looks like a crow.
Yeah, that's what I was just getting ready to say. And
Yeah.
there's also a cross on the leather.
Yeah,
right there.
Here.
Huh. Not that that has anything to do with Christ, but that's interesting that he's got a crow.
Yeah, and he's
head.
Yeah, and then he's holding this. That's that war club they have. That item. You might not even notice it, but it's right there. That's that hatchet made out of wood that they strike you with.
Will you zoom in on that? Just right on the end of it.
This thing or this?
Yeah, right. That's good enough. Yeah, because you can see it goes under his forearm.
Yeah, because he uses that thing they use like a hatchet almost.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okie doke. I'm sorry,
No, that's all right. It's glad you point things out like that, This guy used handprints. Notice the black. He's got some white going on here, a lot of red. They did like a lot of red. No wonder why I've been reading about it, and the soldiers and the people, at first they called them savages and stuff. And then when they went to war and stuff, and the Indians rose up, they started calling them red devils. And now I see why they called them that, because these guys would paint themselves in a lot of red. And then, can you imagine going and trying to fight them? And here's all these guys painted in red and black and, feathers like this to, the old time people, with the Christian people. That guy would look like a devil, wouldn't he?
Yep.
All painted up here.
Black, and some of the dancers that I have met and known, and at the powwows that I've been to, that's not necessarily war paint, but when they do the paint, and this guy's 6'3", and he's 200 pounds and nothing but muscle, and you look at him and go, man, I would hate to have this guy mad at me.
Yes.
And so he can have a smile on his face but be painted like that, but in an instant his face can change and you go, whoa, I would not want to meet him in a dark alley or a lit alley.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. These guys used a lot of, we'll switch the picture to this guy. Okay, but anyway, here we're going to talk a little bit about we can date a lot of the Indians by their color. The earliest colors they had were brown, red, yellow, black, blue, green, and white. The other colors came into to option when the white man came, but they didn't have a way to make those. The basis for reds were crimson colored earth. This is what they used to make these colors. They used crimson colored earth, crushed pale reddish yellow rock. Reddish brown could be obtained by baking gray or yellowish clay over the ashes until it turned red. In the spring of the year, the buds of the pussy willow were kept overnight and made into still another red paint. Another color was yellow. It was obtained from bullberries and the moss of pine trees. And buffalo gallstones provided another yellow color. For blue, the Indians artists used duck manure from the lakes of the county where wild ducks were plentiful. It was dried in the sun and then mixed with water. The earliest, some of the Indians realized that they could mix blues and greens, or blue and green together and make different colors too. Green came from copper ores and from colored mud from plants growing near lakes. White paint was obtained from white earth and from grinding down white clay. Let's see, Lewis and Clark even noticed that when they came to a present Beaver Creek near Helena, Montana, they passed in 1805 the White Earth Creek because they learned the Indians were accustomed to digging white paint beside it. And that's where they dug out the white powder. And they also got powdered. They used powdered charred wood and black earth for black paint. That's why I suppose black was pretty prominent too, because you could get it right from your coals of your fire. Of all the colors, red was the most used in painting. Red earth was applied liberally to the surfaces of sacred objects used in ceremonies and to the Indian's face and body. Ceremonial bundles often contained a number of sacred objects which were completely covered in red paint. Some paints, a darkish brownish red, were even used as a remedy for eczema. And let's see, to prepare them for use, the negative pigments were baked to a powder over a fire. Then they were ground in small stones or wooden mortars and mixed with tallow. Tallow meaning is fat. And then after the grinding was finished, each color was kept separately in a small buckskin bag. And they carried these around, and they could mix this up at any given time to paint with it by adding hot water. So basically watercolors, I guess, in some ways. Mix it up, you take your pouch out, mix it. But then they didn't have brushes like we have today. They used bones, leaves, things like that. A lot of bones, and then they kind of stenciled with the bone. They would stick the bone and use it kind of like a quill pen to paint on things. Different size bones. That bone, the inside of the bone is kind of hollowish, and it would suck the paint up. And as they painted on things, the paint would come out of the bone. It wasn't a really preferred. It wasn't a great way to do it, but they had the different size bones gave them the precise way. They also painted their teepees. They painted their clothes. They painted pretty much everything. Let's see. Let's go to this guy here. Here's another one. Look at this guy. He's really painted up. But they painted on like stories on their stuff. They use a lot of coloring. Like this guy here. He's full of color. I think we've seen him already. And the horse. Now the horse, was their main mode of transportation for or at least 150 to almost 200 years there, after before they really got entangled with the white man. And they learned how to decorate these horses up in tremendous ways. I mean, as you can see, they got handprints on them, symbols and signs. They put feathers in their hair. The horse meant everything to them. So let's look at the horse, for instance. If you can see this is here is the overthrowing of on the nose, you got the stripes, overthrowing a settlement. Here's a symbol of victory. A handprint, a vow of vengeance against an enemy. So now you know what the handprints are for. Here's one on the belly with the crooked arrow. Bad luck on the enemy. This here symbol, going to battle against an enemy. Symbols on the legs, symbol of speed and stealth. Of course, that's what you want on the leg. Here's another one on the front leg, thunder stripes to please the god of whatever. Here's some dots, prayer for hail to fall on the enemy. This one here, success in combat or a mission carried out. Another handprint, different color. Successful horse stealing raids, hoof prints. Rider has escaped an ambush with a cross or an X. Traditional name markings. Yep, this is about the same. Zigzag lines. A circle around the eye or nostril was to enhance the senses. The bridge, legs, or coupon marks. Okay, I think this one's about the same. Yep. But anyway, as you can see, they have all those markings. Now, when you look at the horse, you can see he's got the circle for the enhanced senses, the stripes on the nose for, all of these. See, now it starts making sense, doesn't it?
Yep.
When we see it, we just think, wow, that guy was really creative. Look he put that circle around that horse's eye and these stripes on his chest and some handprints. He was just having a good old time decorating, wasn't he? But no, it's all purposeful. It's all purposeful. And I'm assuming there's something that has to do with their face too, when they paint their faces.
Well, from what I learned from the medicine man I worked with, that there were certain traditions, like, certain tribes, the red would go up above the nose or higher up on the, from the eyebrows up, or it was black, so there were certain traditions, but styles literally depended upon each of the warriors. They kind of chose their own war paint.
Yeah.
It was like, it was their connection to the creator. There might be similarities between warriors and their paint, but if you really look at them, they're all different in some way. They might all be red on the top of their head, but they're different in some way,
Yeah.
So they were personal things.
Yes, exactly. I agree. I totally agree with that. Just like the personal thing of their shield, like this one here. This guy had the Thunderbird, and of course, then he's got feathers. I imagine these are probably eagle feathers of some sort. And great stuff there. Here's another one. This looks like how he must have done in battle. He's got
Actually, that looks like a ceremony that they're doing.
Oh, that could be that too.
It's a ceremony of hunting rights for the buffalo.
Oh yeah. You got buffalo heads on there, guys.
Right.
Yes.
I want to make another comment about the face paint.
Yes, go
A lot
ahead.
of them that just like, you know, they dip their fingers in and just made streaks across their face.
Yeah.
And each one of the Braves did the same thing. They did their fingers, you know, across their face. And that was very similar. But they also had their own little personal thing too. I just wanted to, you know,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that. Here's another one. This one looks really old. Kind of a bird type thing. Thunderbird. Almost
can you
looks like a
zoom into the top of his head, Robert?
yeah. Almost looks like a pterodactyl. See how the wings go like this?
Yeah.
You know,
Also, what is that at the top of the head? That right, what is?
these look like it has horns. I don't know what this is. That looks like a hole in it, but this here, it looks like the bird has horns.
Yep. Well, the
Like
great horned owl, you know, its feathers form it, you know, but that's not an owl. But yeah, I agree with the pterodactyl.
yeah, that's what I mean, you know,
That's like
because
that, you
because
know, it
because a bird,
almost looks like a bat in a way.
yeah, yeah. Huh.
Okay, thank you.
Interesting. And there's a turtle one again. I think we got all of these. Here's another bird one. See, because when this guy drew a bird, he drew birds like a winged bird, you know?
Yep.
And let's see, did we get this one? Here's another bird one. See, now that guy drew a bird like a real bird. So I said that one looks really funny. It looks like a pterodactyl. You know, these guys might not have been the best drawers in the world, but you know, I mean precisely, but they did put in certain stuff that accents things they seen. You know what I mean?
Yep. And one's got to wonder if they weren't accurate. Like maybe that was a pterodactyl.
Well, yeah, you kind of wonder. I mean, if
You got to
that
wonder,
that
you know,
shield is
how
really
old
old,
that.
it could be. I mean, because this is what you're seeing. You're seeing bird wings. I get this. Yeah, sure, it doesn't have to be, but you know, birds' wings are like this.
So
You
what
know,
are the waves coming off?
I don't know if that means you know, fast like a bird or
That is,
whatever. I don't
I
know.
would say that it's like, you know, like an
Wind.
airplane in a way, and that it's got a vapor trail. Yeah, but it's showing flight, is my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, some way to
And
show
that,
flight
you know, those waves are that it's, you know,
going fast or flying or in the air.
it's at least flying. Yeah. It's not just sitting there, you know, still. So, but
Yeah,
the fact that they would use wavy lines to signify that, though, is what
mm,
I'm kind of like, you know,
yeah. Something the
who
signal.
told them that wavy lines mean
Yeah,
where did the concept of the wavy lines come from the wings to denote that it's flying? I'm just curious.
that was a good question. That's a good question. Let's see. I think that's about all we got. Of course, you got there. Here's another horse. Hand painting, thing over the eye, streaks on the nose. This one's got stripes on the legs too. Usually they're the things on the, but you know, here's one on the side of fleet of speed. I don't know what this symbol means, but you know, this guy's got a shield. I mean, you know, if you've seen this guy coming on a horse like this, and it's all gussied up, and he's got his garb on, and you know, he's all painted up, and uh, it would look pretty impressive coming at you. You know, it's enough to make you wonder if you're going to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it would depend on the circumstance too.
Yeah. I mean, it looks I'm the words are escaping me, but I mean it would look impressive, you know, like when you pull up in a jalopy versus you pull up in a Ferrari kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It would be impressive, yes.
Yeah, and just that
Whether
impressive.
he trotted up with a friendly smile on his face or whether he was whooping it up with a war,
Yeah, it ain't like he's walking up pulling a donkey. You look at that guy and say,
Hey,
"Oh,
look, there's Pedro.
yeah, exactly. You're not afraid of the guy pulling up with a donkey." But this guy pulls up on a war horse, and you start thinking, "Holy crap!
It
What
would
the?"
also, it would also denote a certain amount of stature.
Yes, yes, I
Huh?
totally agree with that stature, and because think of it like this guy here. This guy here is decked out. He's riding he's riding that horse, and he's got all these feathers, and he's painted up like this, and I mean, he just looks scarier. Like the stature, like you said, impressive. Like, holy cow, he's come to either help me or kill me, one or the other. Yeah. So anyway, let's see. Let's shrink that. I should have done it differently. But anyway, I done these pictures different this time, and now I gotta close them all out.
Well, something else I wanted to mention about brushes.
Yes,
They also used feathers,
yes, yes. Uh,
both the feather part of it and the quill part of it.
yes, and when the white man finally did come, and the Indians seen that he had a paintbrush, they started taking hair from like deer or the horse and making their own brushes.
Their
Kind
horse's
of,
tail.
yeah, kind of the same and imitating the white man in a way.
Because they still use they have they have hog's hairs brushes and horsetail brushes even to this day.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it, it was amazing what the Native Americans used, and a lot of times, like painting on the side of the teepee, they used their finger.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they just
Anything that work. And I was even reading that at some points, to make drawings in like the buffalo hide, they would take a sharp bone or knife or whatever, and they would carve into the buffalo hide different, precisely, as they were carving, the hide would be different colors at different thicknesses, so they could get different colors out of that as they made things. So, it's just different ways to look at the, stuff. So, but yeah, they like to paint. I mean, I wish I could get some of these things out of this book to show you, but they would get buffalo hides. Their hides were painted. They had lots of drawings on them. They did drawings of things that happened, their battles, their symbols. Like each Indian had his name, like Sitting Bull. We'll just take him for instance, and he didn't write his name, but he used a symbol of a sitting buffalo as Sitting Bull, so that he would draw that out on his teepee, and you would know who he was. And there you go. But anyway, I want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat. Thank you all for coming. We got a full house tonight. We got Elderberry, Scotty Boy. Thank you for coming. Dominic Despito. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for coming. Pod Joe's in the house. Regine Hutchinson. What did the light blue represent in the shield? I don't know exactly what light blue is, but we can check that out in a second. Blue is, oh man, I got too many of them on there. Let's see, what was blue? Blue is, there was screen share. This is just for you, Regine.
The difference in light and dark sometimes had to do with what they had available. And so if they were going for blue, they might not have been able to get a dark blue. So, but blue was blue. So
Yeah.
it may be a pale blue, and they might have used a darker blue, but they couldn't get it. I just
Yeah.
um
But blue
sometimes it was
symbolizes,
availability of the paint.
yeah, yes, definitely. Like I
So
said,
I just,
in
because
the
of the types of minerals and things. I mean, you make blue. You said they made blue out of duck poo.
yes,
Well, ducks weren't everywhere. I mean,
no,
so it was, you're out in the middle of the prairie, there aren't a lot of ducks.
yep, that's right.
I mean, just saying, so they had to use different things. So they crushed up different minerals and rocks. And like you said earlier, they baked them. So sometimes if they over baked them, they might have got a lighter blue, or if they depending on how it worked out. But having, played with a bunch of rocks over the years, there are places where the rocks are green,
Mm,
and you can chop them up and mash them up and add a little bit of water, and you've got this green. Well, that's you can't match that green except with that mineral.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if you don't have that mineral in your neighborhood, then you might not get the same color green. But if you're going for green, then you did your best with those resources that you had to get the depth of green, if that makes any sense.
I
But
think
it
it was
was
just,
the fact that they were using blue regardless of light or dark. Okay, I just want to point that out.
yeah, yeah, like I said, you're right. It's just meaning blue. Blue is, regardless of what color it is, symbolizes confidence, wisdom, sky, moon, water, lightning, and sorrow. So whatever color blue it was, light or dark, it still means the same thing, right?
So if it was a dark blue, they might have been making wisdom, and if it was light blue, it could have been denoting water, meaning more clear.
Yeah. Or it just means they didn't have a lighter color.
But to the point though, I want to,
Yeah.
they couldn't just run down to the store and get these colors.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they had to settle for different shades of blue because of their resources.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Exactly.
if you were down here in the South, for example, where there is a lot of pokeweed that has these purple berries, you know, you mash them up and you've got an ink that is really vibrant in its color. The same thing with elderberry, but the same thing with elderberries, the color of those. But out, you go west of Kansas, you ain't got elderberries and pokeweed and stuff. The plants are different. So the colors that you got on the East Coast, because of all the berries and stuff and all the different yellow root and things that you could dig up and pound into a paste and then make colors from. They just don't have the same things available out west. So the things that you've been discussing has been the Western natives.
Mhm.
Things
Well,
that,
but that's the thing. I'm thinking that each place had its own way of getting the different colors. Like I said, there was a variety of ways.
right, right.
Like it said, Lewis and Clark found that those Indians in Montana knew where there's that river where they could get the white powdery rocky clay or whatever it was and make white paint out of that. But doesn't mean that the Indians in Georgia are getting that same stuff, but they might have had their own a find of a rock or a clay there that gave them a white powder. But
Exactly.
mhm,
Exactly. And how they mixed them together. And one of the things that even in, Aboriginal Australia and other places in Africa, I was amazed that they use urine a lot
mm,
to mix things. I mean, they'd pee in a bowl or whatever, and they'd spit into stuff. And, there was a lot of human excrement in ways. Well, I don't mean poo, but um, you know, if they were using duck poo to make blue, I mean, you know, what else were they using? But to the point though, they're just, you know, down here in South Georgia where they could get, you know, red clay, and there's a really hard dark red clay that they call red ochre, OCHRE. And it was very prized and used in ceremonial pots and stuff by the Colamoki Indians here over near the Alabama line, just west of me. And so, you know, their red was and black, you know, because that was easy because you could do charcoal. And but the fact that they their ceremonial pots for the Colamoki that they smoked dark, that they smoked the ceremonial pots almost black, where normal everyday pottery was just red clay and brown clay, you know, but ceremonial pots were scorched black. So anyway, but because of the region and everything, you know, the colors and how they made them and the paints that they made were, you know, much different than out west, simply because of the materials that they had.
Oh,
They
yeah.
still represented the same things, but you know, so yeah.
Oh, I totally get it. Like out here in the barren wastelands of North Dakota, although like in the Badline areas, you know, you could walk around, you could almost see the different colors in the layers of rock.
Yeah.
And you know, and in the mountains like around here we got a lot of scoria, which is a red clayish stuff. You know, and I wonder if you powdered that up. I mean, well, I do know, like after they put it on dryways and roadways here, and once it gets powdery from the vehicles beating it down, then and you fall or step in it or something, or get it on your clothes, it's red, all right, you know. And I'm thinking it wouldn't take much to take that, crush that up, you know, in a pure form, and then mix it with some tallow, and then literally paint it on your whatever you wanted, and you could have a paint out of that. I mean, because it is kind of a clay, it would be a powdery clay at that point. And
Yeah.
it is red. It's definitely red.
And it's amazing what heating stuff does. Heating any kind of clay and then pounding it. Nero Clockney is where is about 12 miles from here. And they have big open pit mines where what they're digging out is a white clay, and they turn it into kitty litter. And so it's a very absorbent clay, but first they have to heat it really high and dry it and kind of pound it, you know, from big clumps and everything, into oil dry into kitty litter. And so, you know, and a little further north of here, it's white clay, but it's a finer grade, and they actually use it for ceramics. And it's up around Andersonville, where the prison was. They that finer clay up there, they use some of that ceramic for the tiles on the space shuttle, and they still use that finer grade up there more for high refractory types of ceramics. So from, you know, 70 miles north of me, where this clay line runs through the earth, it's a refractory clay up there. It's down here, it's kitty litter, and further south, it's something else down around Attapulgis, Georgia, which is almost on the Florida Georgia line. So it's still white clay, but it has different properties. Even in a less than a 200-mile stretch of Georgia where this clay resides. I mean, it's at the bottom of my well.
Huh, interesting. Very interesting. Well, that's what I got for tonight. But I hope you all enjoyed the paint thing, because that does fascinate me in the fact that, you know, we always see the Indians painted up, their horses painted up, and nobody really knows what it actually, everything, all those symbols, all those colors mean something. And that was the big thing for tonight. But what do you got for us tonight?
Well, we got 2 stories lined up.
2 stories.
At least. One.
Mary Wins in the house and Witchy Moon. Thank you for coming. Mary wins, we all win. Yeah. Okay, 2 stories, and I got it pulled up. I'm getting it ready to go.
And good evening to everybody.
Ooh, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one.
It's an interesting, version of how fire came to earth. And as I was reading this earlier today to refresh my memories, and I always try to read the stories ahead of time before I hate to read them cold, but in the Tlingit tribe and in listening to the legend keepers, Raven brought a lot of stuff to the earth and to the peoples. And this story, does it say who it came from?
No, I don't think it does. Nope. No,
maybe it'll let us know. But anyway, but it was interesting that from what I learned of the Raven through my friend Kashka, who was a legend keeper, the Raven was real important. And on many of the northwestern tribes, along the coast, their totem poles will have, Raven up towards the top, meaning it's the most important. Oh, but anyway, I shouldn't have lit that. I got to get I guess these glasses are okay. Take a swig.
Yep.
Now, we've read different stories in the past of how, Coyote went and stole fire and stuff from the, old witches that were up in the sky and, different things. So this is how fire came to earth. It was in the long ago, Yelp, the raven, was a spirit of good and he was kind. But his uncle, the great gray eagle, was a spirit of evil. The eagle kept in his lodge the sun, the moon, stars, fire, and fresh water, and he guarded them, that the children of men should not get any part of them. He hated the children of men and wished them evil. But Yelp wished them well, and therefore the great gray eagle hated him. The great gray eagle's daughter, however, did not hate the handsome youth. And when Yelp spoke smooth words to her, she bade him enter her father's lodge. Yelp looked well within the lodge to see what he could find that the children of men could use. Who are you? He asked a great shining ball, and the ball answered, I am sun. All day long I can shine and give light and warmth. Why am I shut up here? Then Yelp saw a smaller ball and he asked, who are you? And a gentle voice said, I am moon, and by night I can shed soft light, soft radiance over all the world to make it fair and well nigh bright as day. Yet here I rest in this dark place and she sighed. Yelf turned to some small and twinkling lights and asked of them their names, and they answered, "We are stars. We are moon's children, flowers of the sky. But the great gray eagle keeps us here, although we long to see the bright and beautiful world." Yelf looked once more in the lodge and saw two other things, and these were fire and water. And he said to himself, "All of these things I must have for the use of my friends, the children of men." Then Yelf the raven gathered up sun, moon, stars, fire, and water, and bearing them all with him, he flew up out of the smoke hole of the lodge. He flew straight up to the blue, and there he hung the sun, where all men might see him. Then he rested for a while in a treetop, and soon came night. Yelf could not see to fly, but he hung the moon in her place and scattered the stars all about the sky, and they made the heavens bright with light. And Yelf flew swiftly through the air. He flew and flew towards his own lodge and carried with him fresh water and burning fire. At length, however, he grew tired of his task. He dropped the water upon the earth, and it flowed and flowed into rivers and lakes and springs, and thereafter men had plenty of fresh water to drink. Now fire was burning upon a stick, and Yelf carried the stick in his bill. The slow flames burned and burned, and the smoke blackened the raven's coat until it was like coal. The flames became hotter until they burned the stick away and touched Yelf's bill with pain, and Yelf dropped the fire, and it fell to earth. To the rocks and trees it fell, and there it is to this day. For the children of men make fire by striking together two bits of rock, or by rubbing together two dry sticks. And this is how fire came to the earth by Yelf the raven in the time of long ago.
Yay, that was a good one.
And now,
You know, oh,
note to that in that he hated the children of men.
yeah. Didn't hate men, just the children.
Not the men. He hated the children of men. I just find huh? What were you going to say?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I love how they do the representations of the different, you know, the raven, you know, how they're like take on this personality. But you're right, you know, see, there's always key words in there like that, like the children of men. Hermes in the Emerald Tablets always talks and says it in that way. The children of men, you know, and so forth and so on. Like there was this time gone by of real men, real, you know, and now we're just the children of those you know, mighty men. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there, you know, the men of the men of they were the men of the renowned,
yes, renowned, men of renowned, yeah,
men of renown, yeah. And so that men of renown, so it's like, so who were they? Well, they're supposed to be special, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily kings, but they were special, you know.
Yeah, they were above average. They were more than what an average guy would be. But that's the thing is like, so, you know, always makes me wonder, like, if there was, you know, and this, you probably heard this many a times too, or it was this part of the cataclysm that came through and we all got dumbed down, or was it the fact that we were men of renown and something happened and everybody after that got stupider and dumber. I just heard this thing on the news the other day, or no, it was a question somebody was asking. I don't know. Are we getting smarter or are we getting dumber?
I think in some ways we're dumber.
Yes.
I really do, because their practical sense is just out the window. You know, gotta call a tow truck. Back in the day, you called a buddy and we pulled it with a chain or a rope.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just there's so much stuff that's electronic. Like there's this one car guy I listened to, and he's like, you know, all this electronics and all these cars. So the guy has battery cables in his trunk, but his battery dies, and because it's an electric opener for his trunk,
Can't get it open.
he can't get into his trunk to get his battery cables out to get it jump.
Yep.
So now, wait, there's no physical, you can't know. So some of these new cars have these also they have electric parking brakes. Now, if that ain't the most stupidest thing I've heard, so if your battery dies, your car could roll down the hill.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, so some of this stuff is just making people stupid.
Well,
You know,
but yeah, you're right. Like you got power locks and you lock your car. How you gonna unlock it? If you don't, because like a lot of new cars don't have the keyhole to unlock your door. They used to have a key on both sides. Remember back in the day, they had a key for the driver and the passenger and the trunk. And now there's no key for the trunk. There's no key for the passenger. There's just some vehicles have a key for the driver's door. But other than that, it's all power locks. You got your key fob and you hit your button and it opens up, right?
and if the battery's dead, you are SOL.
Yes,
And
you
that,
are.
I mean, what? That makes your car useless in so many ways, So I was looking into possibly maybe a new vehicle, right? And could I afford it and all this stuff? And I couldn't find a vehicle with a standard shift.
Mm,
And I'm like, there are many car manufacturers who are not making stick shifts anymore.
yeah,
They don't have a clutch. It's an automatic or nothing. And
yeah.
no, you can't. You can push my truck or any other clutch. You can push it a little ways and pop the clutch and start it, whether the battery's good or not.
Yeah.
It'll start.
Yep.
But you can't do that with an automatic of any kind. So, that was always been my standard. When I'm stuck down here in the country and I need to get my truck, I have literally pushed my truck myself fast enough to get it going.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, does it?
No, not a lot. So, but anyway, but it's also just dumbing people down. They resort to a mirror. Now I got to admit, some of these mirrors are not a mirror, cameras. But I mean, we learned how to back up with a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how to back up semi-tractor trailers with a mirror. With mirrors. There wasn't no fancy gadgets. With mirrors, we got through 100 years of driving with vehicles with mirrors, and now people can't get by unless they've got a camera on board.
I know. It's crazy. Well, you heard about that chat bot PTI or whatever the heck it is. You heard about that thing lately. It's been in the news, right?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. So there's this computer dealie. You can get on apparently you can get on the website or something or whatever it is, and you put in your information like say you want to write a story, right? Well, you tell the computer how long the story's got to be. You tell it what the main topics are. You want
the parameters.
The parameters, and it'll write you a story. And I'm thinking, wow, okay. it doesn't, but apparently they've been using this to write like news articles, so there is no reporter. The reporter says, like, we'll just take this earthquake that just happened. Earthquake. It's got to be an earthquake in there. This is the country. This is the stuff. 2,000 people died, and it's a catastrophe. That's what I wanted to say, and it'll write you an article about the catastrophe with 2,000 people in Turkey, and
based on the parameters.
Yeah.
It's this thing too, and I've been on this kick for a couple of years, and I just kind of shut up about it. But this thing about Grammarly. Now it's a free download and it's free this and that, but they have to, who's paying the ads for that? For all these Grammarly ads? I'm just saying. So, but what are these people getting who use it? They're getting stupid because they're relying on a program to learn how to speak English or to write correctly instead of going to school and taking a English class. They rely on this computer to fill in the blanks for them, and it takes some imagination out of what they're writing because the computer knows the right. And and the other thing is like, wait a minute, there's been free software out there that does correcting stuff that's been out there for at least 15 years. So Grammarly's supposed to be this new special item. And I'm like, wait a minute. Word had the early Word on
Office.
Microsoft, and Microsoft Office had this stuff. What are you talking? Oh, Grammarly is this new special thing. And I gotta ask, what's so special about it? I mean, when I download this free software that's Open Office, and it's very similar in all kinds of way to Microsoft, but it's open source. But they've had all these fancy stuff in that open source software for at least the last 20 years. So what's this special thing about Grammarly?
I know.
Gotta ask the question,
Oh yeah,
actually the open software has been there since 2005.
Yeah, probably
ish.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
but that Grammarly is promoting being stupid. Oh, you get this software and it'll help you write and it'll make you a better person and it'll make you a better, but it's making you stupider because you don't know how to write yourself. I mean, you don't know how to use software that's been out there for the last 20 years. I mean, are you not paying attention?
Well, and that's exactly it. I read a lot of these old books, right? I get a lot of old books, and they're wrote very well. The grammar in there, some of the words I mean, I really got to put my noggin to the test pronouncing these words. I mean, they use really colorful metaphors and words, and I mean, and it's well put together. But as I get to the newer stuff, reading the newer stuff, all of a sudden it becomes really easy to read, and the grammar isn't so good, and it sounds more like me talking when I'm reading this stuff. But when I read the old stuff, it's like I kind of enjoy reading the old stuff because I keep telling myself I would love to talk like that. And I'm thinking, if I could read one book and it was like that, that would be great. But it's not one book. It's all the books. All the books are like that. So my thinking is that people talk more like that, and than they do now, because you write for the time period.
Well, think about many of us have watched the Ken Burns, the Civil War,
Yeah.
Now, if you will remember the letters that they read from the privates and the corporals and the mothers and the aunts and the sisters, and that the language that they used in common everyday letters back and forth were so descriptive and oh my God. And that was in the middle 1860s, 150 years ago ish, at least. And so, their grammar, the common man, his grammar was better than these people who are graduating high school.
Exactly. So,
and
got
these people
a
didn't
trivia.
have the same kind of thing,
I have a trivia question for you. Okay, I have a trivia question for you pertaining to a book I just got. During the Civil War, what did they call it?
Wait, what?
During the Civil War, did they call it the Civil War?
They call it the war between the states.
And did they have another one?
I don't know. Probably.
So, as me being the book hound I am, I was on the internet and looking on eBay, as I usually do, for old books. I found a book, and it caught my eye. Now, me being the smart man I am, I looked into it more because it caught my eye, because I knew what it kind of meant. But it was called The American Conflict. Right? The American Conflict. And it was written in 1864 about, it starts out early and it talks about, it's all about the war between the states and things like that. Talks about, there was a good one in here, speaking of, us talking about things about Georgia. And it was talking about the presidents and Georgia and the whole 9 yards. And it really made me realize that things don't ever change. They stay the same. But in this book, it tells us a few things. I'm going to set my book here on top of the computer just because hopefully it doesn't go bad. But it says, right, okay, so it's talking about in 1802, Georgia are ceded on certain conditions of her western territory, composing of states of Alabama and Mississippi to the Union. Among these conditions, our government undertook and extinguished the Indian title all lands within the boundaries of the state, and thereby constituted so as could be effectively, peaceably, and reasonably terms. And this object was see how they're using these big words, and this object was urgently, perseveringly, and not always honorably pursued. Now they're saying this in the book, not honorably pursued. Now that part I can understand. In February 1825, just as Mr. Monroe's administration was passing away, meaning Monroe, President Monroe, administration was passing away, certain commissioners selected by Mr. Calhoun, then Secretary of War, remember they didn't have defense, they had war, attempted to obtain from the Creeks at the council held at the Indian Springs a cession of their lands, and were baffled by the stern resolve of the chiefs and people, the tribe, having previously prescribed the penalty of death for anyone who should make such a sale, meaning the Indians are not to sell their land, pertaining to death from the hands of the Indians. Thus defeated the commissioners. So the Indians didn't want to give up their land. They weren't going to sell any land. And the Secretary of War is like, what? You don't want to sell your land? What do you mean you don't want to sell your land? Okay, now listen to this. Thus defeated, the commissioners resorted to listen to this, to common practice. They bribed an inconsiderable minority of the Creeks, including one or two alleged chiefs, to give their formal assent to such an instrument. Notice the funny words again. Alleged chiefs to give their formal assent to such an instrument as they desired. The sham treaty was hurried to Washington. Does this sound familiar? The treaty was hurried to Washington and forced through the expiring Senate on the last day of the session before its true character could be generally known. The Creeks, upon hearing such a pretend treaty had been made, held a general council wherein it was formally disavowed and denounced, and the party was at once dispatched to the home of McIntosh, an Indian, probably the guy who invented the apple, Macintosh, McIntosh. That's why we don't have apples named McIntosh. A chief who had signed the fraud to execute the sentence of the law upon him. So basically, he signed the treaty and they executed him. McIntosh and another principal signer were shot dead on sight, and due to not given the pretend treaty was utterly reputed. Then the government, of course, the governor of Georgia assumed the vitality of the instrument and prepared to take forcible possession of the Creek's land. Gee. So just like they do today, we're going to, you have to sign it so you can read it. Let's pass this bill. What's in it? I don't know. I'll give you 24 hours to read the 2,000 pages. How about that? You know what I mean?
Nothing ever changes.
Let's pass this on the last day before the Senate changes into the new Senate that just got elected.
Yeah. Hey, I got another story.
Yes, I know you do, and I didn't.
Do you want to do it? Is what I.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's called the American Conflict, and I thought that was just neat. But I thought you'd like it because you're in Georgia. And
oh yeah, they did some crooked things. I mean,
But I'll just sum it up. It goes on about how President Adams was in office, right? And Adams came out and he said, wait a minute, you duped the Indians. And I forbid you to take their land. Right? So he was the good guy in all of it. He understood that. And the people against him used that against him to get him unelected and get Andrew Jackson elected.
Yep.
And they said, because you support the Indians, you will never be elected. It says right in the book, you will never be elected again. And they elected Jackson. And you know what happened when Jackson came in?
Trail of Tears.
Trail of Tears. Round those Indians up, haul them out of their houses, their businesses, whatever, and send them to Oklahoma. They
and
get
run them
nothing.
out.
Yes, exactly. And I thought, wow, they do. It almost sounded like Russiagate or something like that all over again. It's like, oh, you said good things about the Indians? You're going down. We'll get that other guy in there, Jackson. He'll get rid of those Indians big time. Oh my goodness.
Politics is politics,
Yeah.
And they're still brutal in many ways today, so.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm just saying is that nothing ever changes. It's always even back in those days. Yeah.
I agree with you.
So anyway, what do we got next?
It was the next one in line.
All right. The Strange Deeds of the Kukutoys.
Kutoyas.
Kutoyas, okay. A Blackfoot legend. Ooh, I love
Yeah.
it.
Let me get one more sip here and I'll start this story.
Mm-hmm.
And as usual, this is an interesting one. Long years ago, there was an old man who dwelt with his wife in a lodge near the big river. They dwelt alone, for they had given their daughter to the man she loved. In that perhaps they were wise, but they were foolish in giving wealth to their son-in-law. For they gave him the best lodge, while they themselves lived in a mean one. And the son-in-law was of an evil heart and treated the old people rudely. His evil heart was his own, but his rudeness was the fault of the old people. For when the old are not wise, the young quickly learn to be rude. The young brave made the old man help him hunt, but gave him little of the game that was taken. He made him skin the buffaloes, but gave him no robes for his bed, nor hides for his moccasins. The old man, therefore, hungered and was cold, and his wife was the same. Once in a while, the daughter would give food to her parents, but only when her husband was gone from the lodge. At length, they grew weak and ill. One day, the son-in-law called to the old man, "Come, you, and help me hunt buffalo." The poor man obeyed. A big buffalo ran before them, and the arrow of the old man killed it. While he was skinning it, his arrow chanced to fall on the ground, and as he picked them up, he noticed a drop of blood on one of them. "A drop of blood is better than nothing," he said, and he placed the arrow in his quiver. His son-in-law gave him not a morsel of the meat. When he reached home, he called to his wife, "Stir the fire, let the smoke ascend through the smoke hole. Put on the kettle." "Have we meat?" asked the old woman. "No, but we have something. My spirit tells me to do this." Then they stirred the fire under the kettle, and when the water boiled, he put into it the arrow with the drop of blood. They listened, and lo, they heard the crying of a child. "Look quickly," cried the old woman, and looking, they found within the kettle a baby boy. "Take him quickly and make lashing for him and hang him from the lodgepole," cried the man. "For my spirit tells me he shall be our good fortune." And the old woman did as she was bid, and they called the baby Catoyas. "We must not let our son-in-law know that this is a boy, or he will kill him," said the old woman. "We will say it is a girl, and then he will let it live, for he will think to marry her when she is old enough." So they called it a girl. And Catoyas grew. He laughed at the old man and the old woman, at the sunlight and the shadows. He laughed at everything. One day, when he was yet too young, he spoke. "Lash me to the lodgepole," he said, "and I will grow to be a man." And they did. Then he grew and burst his lashings and was as large and strong as a man. "There is no food here," he said boldly. "Give me arrows and I will get some." "I have no arrows," said the old man, "only 4 flint heads. Get me some wood and you shall see." They brought him wood, and they saw, for he made a bow as fine as this of bois d'arc wood, and 4 arrows he shaped for the flint heads. And then he said, "Let us go hunting." You need buffalo. So the old man took him to the piskun, and they shot a fine buffalo. Soon the son-in-law came out to see what was going on. Catoyas hid behind the dead buffalo, for the old man had told him how evil was the heart of the son-in-law. The young man called rudely to his father-in-law and shot an arrow at him. And Catoyas put an arrow to his bow, and as he shot, he rose up and said, I am Catoyas, drop of blood. For your evil treatment of this old man, you shall die an evil death. And as the young man turned to flee, Catoyas shot him with 4 arrows in the back, and he died. And then Catoyas said to the old man, go back now to your great lodge and dwell there, and do not again foolishly give away what you can use. Now you shall have meat and to spare. Then was the old man glad, and so was his wife. But their daughter wept. And Catoyas said to her, do you weep for a bad husband? I will give you a good one. Or if you must weep for him, you must go to him. But she was of no mind to die. She said, a good husband will dry my tears. So Catoyas found a brave who wished her for a wife. And they were wed and lived in the small lodge which her father had lived in. And she was happy. By and by, Catoyas grew tired of living in the lodge and of hunting. Where are there other lodges? He asked. On Wolf Creek there are lodges, said the old man. So Catoyas went thither. He found many lodges and much people. 2 old women bade him welcome, for he was a handsome youth. Here is bear meat, they said. It is the best we have. But it is dry and poor. Where is the good meat? He asked. A big bear dwells in the lodge. He takes all the good meat, they said. Harness your travois, he said. I will kill you good meat. And then he went forth and shot a buffalo calf. He put the carcass on the dog travois and carried it to the lodge of the old woman. Put the best pieces up outside the lodge so the bear will see them, he said. And they did. Soon one of the bear's children passed by and saw the meat. He began to carry it away, but Catoyas struck him fiercely, and the cub ran to his father, crying, someone hit me on the head, there by the lodge of the old women, because I took some fresh buffalo meat. I will kill him, roared the big bear, and he and all of his family rushed forth to fight. But Catoyas killed them all, and that easily. Then he said to the old women, now you may have plenty of good meat, for the bears will trouble you no more. Where are there more people, for I seek adventures? There are many lodges by the big river, but you must not go there. For an evil woman is there who asks braves to try their strength and wrestle with her, and then she kills them, said the old woman. Then I shall go and see her, said Catoyas. She will not kill me. This he said because he knew it was his business to kill everything bad. He went to the lodge where the woman was, and she saw him coming. Come here and wrestle, she cried. I cannot, answered Catoyas, going on. You are tall and strong, young brave, but I am stronger, she said mockingly. Come and try me. But I am in haste, he answered. It will take you but a moment, she answered. Indeed, I am sure you are the stronger. Now that I look at you and see how fine and strong you are, I feel very weak. Thus she flattered him, hoping that he would wrestle with her to show himself stronger. Catorius was, meanwhile, coming nearer and nearer, looking all around to see what he could see. He saw that the ground was covered with sharp stones, over which the woman had covered grass. So he said at last, I will wrestle. Then they wrestled, and she was strong. She tried to throw him and to make him trip upon the flints, but he looked on the ground and saw the stones and did not fall. He wrestled with her until she was tired, and then he cast her upon the flints, and she was killed. Then were the people happy, and they called Catorius great brave. Thus Catorius went on his way doing great deeds. He killed Ascanoki, the mudsucker. He destroyed all evil beasts. He even made an end to the man-eater who dwelt in the great lodge beyond the great river. And when his shadow departed for the sandy hills, many of the tribes mourned for Tucatoius.
Oh, I guess that's it.
The man-eater who dwelt in the great lodge beyond the big river. That sounds like a giant to me, don't it to you?
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like another story there. Or two or three. What about the mudsucker guy? That must be a story. The man
Yeah,
eater.
really,
And then yeah, exactly. Interesting. So cool. Very cool.
So interesting. So, but he knew that he was meant to get rid of evil. That was just interesting, that because for whatever reason he knew he was supposed to get rid of bad people. So, and to the wife of the man he killed, he was like, if you miss him that bad, you can go meet him, you can go with him,
Yeah.
Or a new husband, I think would, make me feel better. Yeah, okay.
And there's Chloe is in the house. Thank you for coming, Chloe. She must have worked late tonight. And Deborah Sloan. There you go. Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, there's some good stories out there. I tell you, I the more and more I think about it, the more and more I enjoy the Indian studies. Like I said, I got this new book on new old book people on Sitting Bull, and it's a very interesting read. It's all from 1891, and so it's old, and it's very interesting, and I'm going to be doing a show on that sooner or later. So buckle up your bootstraps and get ready to listen to that one. But anyway, what do we got for cards tonight? I want to say a big shout out to Isby. Everybody send him some good vibes. He hasn't been feeling well lately. He called me the other day, said he's a little under the weather. Things going on. So just send Isby some good vibes and some healing energy if you can. Let's do that for him. Anyway, and hopefully he gets better and come back on the show sometime, and things like that. Michelle Can-Am Free says, spiritual takeaway. If we stood up to evil, we would reclaim our power. That is so right on. I was hearing something the other day, and a guy, I want to do a show all about fear, because you know, they were talking about that, and fear is such a controller. You know, what is fear and why it controls us, it runs our lives. Think how many times a day you fear something, you know? And I thought, oh my gosh, that is true. We go through our whole lives fearing everything. You should fear nothing, like Catoyas, you know? He feared nothing. He used it like he fought the old woman wrestling. He used his brain, and he looked around, and first he said, no, I'm not going to wrestle you. I'm just too busy. And then he looked around, he took his time instead of just running up and wrestling her. He looked around and he went, oh, there's a lot of sharp stones. You know, she's going to throw me to the ground and kill me on the sharp stones. That's what it is. And so he, you know, he avoided the sharp stones until she was tired, and he threw her down, and she got killed in the sharp stones. She got killed by her own devices, right?
Yep. And by her own cockiness too, because she just, you know, she didn't know his strength, not just of physical strength, but his strength of observation.
Yes, that's the thing, is using your brain, observing things. You know, don't jump into the fight. Think about things before you do it. You know, it's like anything else.
It said right in the story, he looked about him.
Yeah.
To see what was about him, you know. So he's looking around like, what's going on here? You know, like she was like, come over here.
Yeah.
And like, all right, let me look and see. So, but anyway, so I pulled two cards, and they're both birds, and they're both upside down. One is the eagle, and it is spirit, and the other is crow, and it's upside down as well. So let me read it, and wait, I forget, I have to change glasses for this book.
We haven't had eagle in a while.
No, we haven't. It's been a little while since we've had crow too.
Yeah.
But exactly. It's been longer since we've had eagle.
Yes.
I will just state that. Eagle, fly high, touch great spirit. Share your medicine, touch me, honor me, so that I may know you too. It's the first in the book. It's eagle, and it's the underneath it is spirit. Eagle medicine is the power of the great spirit, the connection to the divine. It is the ability to live in the realm of spirit and yet remain connected and balanced within the realm of the earth. Eagle soars and is quick to observe expansiveness within the overall patterns of life. From the heights of the clouds, eagle is close to the heavens where the great spirit dwells. The feathers of eagle are considered to be the most sacred of healing birds and of healing tools. They have been used for centuries by shamans to cleanse the auras of patients coming to them for healing. Within the belief system of the Native American tribes, eagle represents a state of grace achieved through hard work, understanding, and a completion of the tests of initiation, which result in the taking of one's personal power. They want me to read that part again. Eagle represents a state of grace achieved through hard work. I can't remember. I think it's swan, or that is about grace. But grace is achieved through hard work, understanding, and a completion of the tests of initiation, which result in the taking of one's personal power. So as you complete things in your life, as you complete goals, you know, that gives you personal power. It is only through the trial of experience, the lows in life, as well as the highs, and through the trial of trusting one's connection to the Great Spirit, that the right to use the essence of eagle medicine is earned. Now, for the positive, if you pulled this symbol, eagle is reminding you to take heart and gather your courage. For the universe is presenting you with an opportunity to soar above the mundane levels of your life. The power of recognizing this opportunity may come in the form of a spiritual test. In being astute, you may recognize the places within your soul, your personality, your emotions, or your psyche that need bolstering or refinement. By looking at the overall tapestry, Eagle teaches you to broaden yourself, your sense of self, beyond the horizon of what is presently visible. Now, it's an upside down card, so I'm going to the contrary. If you pulled Eagle in the reverse, you have forgotten your power and your connectedness to the Great Spirit. You may have failed to recognize the light that is always available to those who seek illumination. Heal your broken wings with love. Loving yourself as you are loved by the Great Spirit is the lesson which the contrary eagle brings. That's a good message. Heal your broken wings with love. Loving yourself as you are loved by the Great Spirit is the lesson in contrary eagle. On some level, eagle is telling you to seek higher ground on which to build your nest. The nest is the home of the heart and cannot remain in a swamp. If your nest is in a swamp, this may be connected to your belief that your wings are clipped by an impossibility in your present status. Eagle's nest is high in the mountains, where the air is clean and the movement free. It may be your time for a vision quest so that you can communicate with the Great Spirit. Fasting and praying will surely bring an answer. Seek lofty ideas and illumination will be close at hand. I like this line up here. You may have failed to recognize the light that is always available for those who seek illumination. It's always available. That's just always available. 24 is Crow.
I just want to bring this one up. You know, the eagle is quite the thing because they use this symbol throughout history. You know,
Oh yeah,
like you were saying, illumination, information, things like that. Look at from the beginning of time, it seems like, you know, here's the symbol for the United States. We'll go with this one for now. And then but look at here in you know, different societies had the different eagle symbols. You know,
didn't the Romans use the eagle?
yes, the Romans did. Italy. This is Italy, the Romans there. Germans, they see, and that's the thing here, Polish eagle, German eagle, Napoleon. I mean, see which one is this? Some dynasty. The eagle, here's Mexico's got the eagle and the serpent. Ruler of the ancient world. Look at that. It goes way back in the day. They see these people. Oh, here's the German eagle. You know, they've been carving these eagles on for hundreds of years. Look at it here. What is the original meaning of the symbol double-headed eagle? Byzantine Empire had a double-headed eagle. They had it on coins way back in the day. So the symbol of the eagle has been used in Russian.
Russian Federation.
Yeah. It is, you know, Germans and back to the United States, you know, so one of those symbols, the eagle, going back through time, you know, even the Native American, you know, even though the Native Americans, you know, they were using the symbol of the eagle all the time, they were doing the same in Europe, you know, throughout the centuries. Isn't that kind of ironic?
Yep. On both coasts.
Yeah, they could have used any other bird. They could have used the falcon. They could have used the, you know, condor. They could have used, you know, ton of other birds, raven, crow, whatever. But they always chose the eagle. Why? Good question. Okay.
I think it proves the long history of the strength of the bird and the symbol of it, you know.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting, when you said crow just a minute ago, you know, crow is our second choice.
Yep.
Tonight for cards. Crow, are you calling so that I may know the secrets of balance within my soul? Or are you sending your sacred call to remind me of universal law? And crow is law. There is a medicine story that tells of crow's fascination with her own shadow. She kept looking at it, scratching at it, pecking at it, until her shadow woke up and became alive. Then crow's shadow ate her. Crow is dead crow now. Dead crow is the left-handed guardian. If you look deeply into crow's eye, you will have found the gateway to the supernatural. Crow knows the unknowable mysteries of creation and is the keeper of all sacred law. Since crow is the keeper of sacred law, crow can bend to the laws of the physical universe and shapeshift. This ability is rare and unique. Few adepts exist in the worlds today, and few still have mastered crow's art of shapeshifting. This art includes doubling or being in two places at the same time, consciously, taking on another physical form and becoming the fly on the wall to observe what is happening far away. So one could say the crow is a remote viewer. The Europeans that came to Turtle Island were named the boat people by Slow Turtle. Even with the knowledge of alchemy possessed by certain boat people, none had ever seen the powerful shape-shifting of the shamans who utilized crow medicine. All sacred texts are under the protection of crow. Creator's book of law or book of seals is bound in crow feathers. Crow feathers tell of spirit made flesh. Crow is also the protector of the Ogala, or the ancient records. Now, crow was upside down, so I'm skipping to that. So you're an outlaw today, huh? This is one of the varied messages of crow reversed. The rebel in you has given a yell, and all hell is about to break loose. A word to the wise at this point: make sure that if you are stepping on toes, you have some backup. The catalyst for a barroom brawl is usually the person with two black eyes. That is what it means to eat crow. If you do not plan to go to such extremes, crow reverse may indicate that you are merely cheating a little on your diet or covertly watching the neighbors having a spat. In any of these situations, the only loser is you. If you are lying to yourself on any level, you have lost the power of crow. If you are lying to yourself on any level, you have lost the power of crow. Think about it, and maybe your inner truth will come to you. In seeing what is true, you may need to weed out past beliefs or ideas to bring yourself into the present moment. Contrary crow speaks of needing to remember that divine law is not judgment or denial of self-truths. Divine law is honoring harmony that comes from a peaceful mind, an open heart, a true tongue, a light step, a forgiving heart, and a love for all living creatures. Honor the past as your teacher, honor the present as your creation, and honor the future as your inspiration. Now, that's an upside down crow. That's good medicine right there. That's a good message. So upside down eagle is saying, make sure that, check and see if you have lost your connection with the earth.
Yeah.
And upside down crow is telling you to, follow the divine law and not be judgmental. And you got to be true. You got to be honest with yourself. Self-truth. Divine law is honoring harmony that comes from a peaceful mind, an open heart, a true tongue, a light step, a forgiving nature, and a love for all living creatures. Honor the past as your teacher, honor the present as your creation, and honor the future as your inspiration. I just had to read that last part again. But anyway, so thus is the messages for tonight.
Very good messages.
So thank you to the cards.
Yep. And it was good cards too, because like I said, eagle has been, has a very, very significant meaning all over the world for a lot of everybody. And then of course you got crow, which, the Indians have been, using crow in their myths and legends and stuff for, they honored the crow. I mean, they literally watch them. They know that the crow is a very smart bird, and it has some sort of meaning. So anyway,
well, some of the sacred texts that go way back were literally, in the Western world or the Eastern world, European world, were sealed in crow's feathers, having nothing to do with the Native American folk and what they was doing, But so crow has been, important, in many different cultures, not just Native American. So, but anywho,
that's right.
We've been at this almost 2 hours, Robert.
That's right. We're gonna if we close out now, we'll be done by 2 hours. But we'll make a record 2 times in 2 weeks. But anyway, that I think this has been a great show. Good cards, good myths and legends, 2 stories tonight, a little bit about war paint. And I encourage everybody to go out. If you got any questions about good stuff like that, go out and do a little research yourself, because that's what it's all about, is to intrigue your mind and go do a little research and learn about the country that you live in, about the people around you, make you a wiser person. There's something to be said about learning about history.
Yeah, and traditions of peoples. Because one of the things that I think that we as Americans at least have lost. There used to be tradition, you know, and now it's broken up so much as to, you know, it's evil to say I'm proud to be an American, and
Yep.
you know, to where that's almost evil to say these days. And come
Mhm.
on now, you know, we should have some kind of tradition.
That we should.
And we, it seems that society and some of these people that are in charge today are trying their best to destroy any traditions.
Yep.
You
And
know,
if you want to hear that, just listen to the president's speech tonight. You'll catch all of that in one big lump sum.
they want to destroy sexuality. They're, you know, there's some kind of in-betweener guy that won some kind of Grammy last the other night. They did a whole thing that I saw clips of it, that if that wasn't a satanic ritual and live and on TV and in front of all those folks, I don't know what was.
Mhm.
And so you really got to question what some of these folks are trying to put out there as like popular and good. And oh, these folks won an award for this? Seriously? Come on now. But
Mhm.
anyway,
Yep.
so with that, I want to say, from my point of view, you know, continue to accept and receive the love and the honor and all of the wisdom from the universe. It's out there. And like Upside Down Eagle said, the light is always available for those who seek illumination. It's always there in the universe. You just got to just accept it, receive it. So, you know,
That
it
is
is
it.
as simple as that, y'all.
It is. It
Practice,
is.
but it's there.
It is. You just got to go look for it. But anyway, I just want to say to everybody, join us back. Join me back here Saturday night for a good live show again. And Thursday night, well, actually, starting on Thursday night, we'll have Nina the Mystic on for our discussion about or Sunday live show with the spiritual science. And on Saturday night, we're going to have Trina and Ryan Serio on this weekend. So don't forget to join us on Saturday night. It will be a humdinger. Anyway, with that, remember, go out and do something nice for somebody, your neighbor, something like that. You know, right this time of year, people are getting stretched on their dollar. Go give a little bit of food to the food pantry if you can afford it, and or do something like that. And if you don't want to give the food pantry, go give something to your neighbor. Wave, say hi, give them a smile. That doesn't cost you anything. Remember, go out and be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love y'all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.
And there we go. Woohoo! Another show.